And we are joining you abruptly live because the Patriots just traded up to the 91st pick and got a tight end finally.
Finally, Sierra. Finally.
Here, Evan, at 91, they pick tight end from UCLA, Devin Asiasi.
Nailed it. I am pumped about this. The Patriots, honestly, Sierra, I know people are going to just think I'm a homer when I say this. I think they've killed it today, quite frankly. They've got three really good defensive players. Devin Asiasi, one of my favorite tight end prospects in this draft. More of a sleeper, I would say, than some of the other names that we've talked about, like Adam Trotman and Harrison Bryant. But the one thing that stands out with Asiasi is that burst and that speed and the ability to get up the seam. You run play action, you get him crossing behind the linebackers, or you get him vertical up the seam. This is a guy that can really push it, and he's got that quick initial burst off the line that you love to see. And the other thing is that he's got a good change of direction skills. He's got the ability to get in and out of routes. This is a true pass catcher at tight end. This is not a guy that's an offensive lineman in a tight end's jersey. This is a guy that can really impact the passing game for New England at this position. I mean, this is exactly the type of tight end prospect that we've all been waiting for and clamoring for them to pick for a couple of years now.
Devin Asiasi, the tight end out of UCLA. We're just getting some live viewers pouring in now because we obviously had to start this stream a little abruptly. Patriots trading up to that 91st pick, getting their skill player at tight end. They're choosing Asiasi out of UCLA. Evan loves the pick. Trags, how do you feel?
I think it's a good pick, a very, very solid pick. And, you know, in a passing program like UCLA, I can't argue with it at all. All I wanted to see the Patriots do here was finally address, as we wrapped up the last video, finally address that tight end position. It was getting really, really barren in the cupboard, and they needed to address it. And as long as he can come in and adapt very quickly, I think Patriots fans will be very pleased to finally see some type of depth at the tight end position.
Just some burst, some actual athletic ability at the tight end position. That's what he brings. The one thing I'll say, though, he's an effective blocker, and he's got the willingness to run his feet through the blocks. And he's 265 pounds is what he weighed in at the combine. So he's a bigger guy at that spot, too. But the hills behind Gillette Stadium are going to be busy because he's had some concerns in the past with weight issues and conditioning. So that's going to be a big question mark. One reason why I wasn't 100% sold of whether or not they would take a chance on him was because of that conditioning. But I think that they feel like they have such a great conditioning staff and program that they'll be able to whip him into shape, but not before long here. So not too concerned about that now, but the hills will be busy.
Yeah, and I would say 6'3", 257 pounds, good size. I think the Patriots would rather have a bigger frame after dealing with, you know, the Matt Lacosses and help me out late at
Ryan Izzo.
Yeah, Ryan
Izzo is undersized for sure. You know, that's why he went so late.
Yeah, and so, I mean, 6'3", 257 pounds, good size. And if you're going to err on the side of size for a tight end, I think you go bigger. And then, as Evan said, try to shed the pounds later.
And then in the comments, someone's asking, you're talking about Asiasi's size. Trotman's big too. What do you think separated Devin, the UCLA product, from Adam Trotman? Why the Patriots go in this direction?
You know, I mentioned with Trotman on the last video that we did about how, you know, he's kind of a one-track speed, right? He doesn't really have a good kind of initial burst to him or the ability to change gears and to really get into that fourth or fifth gear down the field. Asiasi is the type of guy that really can stretch the seam. He can run vertical. He's got a really nice initial burst to him, and he can run a little bit better than Trotman can. So I think that's really what they're looking for, is some juice out of that position and some juice as a pass catcher. He's also a guy that you can move around the formation a little bit more, I think, and flex him out put him in the slot, maybe put him outside and get some matchup indicators. So I think it's mostly, though, the pass catching upside with Asiasi is a little bit higher than what they had with Trotman. Just from an athletic standpoint, you can clearly see that this guy can run. And the other thing is that he went to De La Salle High School in California, big time high school program. Then he went to UCLA, big time college program. So I think the difference in there in between going from Dayton at the FCS level, you get a guy in a Power 5 from a big time high school as well in the football world. I think that's another big difference there between those two guys.
The other thing I would note here is Chip Kelly. The Chip Kelly, Bill Belichick
Great point.
lineage is a very, very strong one. So I certainly would assume that Belichick tapped into Chip Kelly's memory bank and his insight to Asiasi and what he could provide right away and how would he be a fit in how the Patriots run their offense. And so that's certainly a factor. And, don't forget that Asiasi started his career in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan under Jim Harbaugh before transferring.
So the story behind that's a little bit interesting because he's a California boy, right? I just mentioned De La Salle. It's a California school. He went to Michigan and he transferred back to UCLA to be closer to home. Now he's coming to the East Coast with the Patriots. So that's a little bit of an interesting thing just from a personal standpoint, right? Is that he really wanted to be closer to home in college. And that's why he pulled out of Michigan and transferred to UCLA. Now he's going to be pretty far from home.
Well, guys, here are the trade terms. New England sends to Las Vegas 100, 139, and 172. New England gets 91 and 159. So pretty even terms there. And officially, the Patriots' day is done unless they trade back into this third round here. But I think it's safe to say 4 players today off the board. Asiasi, you mentioned, Evan, has some juice. I think that's something that Patriots fans can get excited about. They were itching for an offensive weapon, for some skill players to get behind. And Asiasi, definitely an exciting player that they can look forward to.
Absolutely. It's that ability to really stretch the field off of play action that I think makes him a perfect fit. You get those linebackers to fall step forward a couple of steps and you push him past the seam or on a crosser right behind that second level that we see New England do all the time. And he's the type of guy that can not only get up to that second and third level quickly to test that type of play action coverage, but he can also create after the catch with the ball in his hands. And he can actually have some impressive hurdles and different types of jukes on his tape from UCLA where he's really effective after the catch as well. So he's definitely a pass catching tight end. This is definitely someone that can impact the passing game and be a receiving option for Jarrett Stidham.
And to your point, 14.6 yards per reception this past season. That is production. That's what should get Patriots fans excited about Asiasi. 44 passes, 641 yards, and 4 touchdowns this past year for the Bruins.
For the Bruins. It's a long night, so I think you meant to say
UCLA Bruins.
Right. I caught myself when I was trying to correct you. It's a long night for me too, Sierra. Stop trying to correct other people. But the thing is, Patriots fans might have been a little disappointed after the first 3 picks because they were all defensive players. Sure, they were great picks in hindsight and very helpful for those immediate needs at the linebacker position. But with this one offensive player pick at a skill position, it kind of rights the ship. And overall, the first day for the Patriots of drafting players, day 2, ends up being quite a successful one.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that you saw was the Patriots matching up the need at the skill position players with the value of and the talent that they had in this draft. Taking a guy like Asiasi at 37 is a big time reach, but taking him here is a more comfortable projection. Similarly, probably on day 3, they're probably going to go after some sort of wide receiver that kind of fits what they do a little bit better later on in the draft and get some great value there. So guys like KJ Hill, James Proche, those guys are still on the board. So you can still get those guys tomorrow, hopefully, and you get a good pass catchers at the right time in the draft, and you're not reaching on a tight end or reaching on a wide receiver.
Yeah, and obviously they didn't value anybody in this draft who was worth a 5th-year option. That's the big advantage of drafting, obviously, in the first round. And the Patriots just didn't see it. And that's why that's one of the big reasons I think a lot of people don't talk about it that much. It's not that sexy of a subject, but when you draft in the first round, you as a team have a 5th-year option, that option to sign somebody and keep him through 5 years.
Absolutely. We'll have all your day 2 NFL draft coverage on our website at clnsmedia.com and on our YouTube channels at Patriots Press Pass, and CLNS Media. So check it out.